podcast, where we dive into the big business of parking and what makes the industry move. Steering this ship, you have hosts Philip Warren and Laura Skulman from Weldon, Williams & Lick, interviewing key thought leaders in the parking industry about strategy, advice, and tactics.
Yes, and today we have with us Josh Stone, who's the Director of Parking and Transportation at VCU. Josh currently holds a board position for the Campus Parking and Transportation Association. And also in November of 2019, Josh received his CAPP certification. Josh, thanks for being with us here today. We're super excited to learn more about you and your operation.
Fantastic. Happy to be here.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Well, I'm just going to dive right into it because I was kind of creeping on your LinkedIn profile today. I'm not going to lie. So the question everyone's dying to hear is, how does a ski instructor break into the parking world? Was that a natural transition?
Forget how extensive my LinkedIn profile is, I guess. You just keep adding to it. You never go back and realize it's put on there. But no, pure accident, actually, as I think everybody falls into the parking world by accident. There's no parking degree out there, but really how I became a ski instructor was an accident as well. During my undergraduate degree, I went to a school in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and one of the reasons I picked that school was because I love to ski and love the outdoors, and I love the cold. I'm from Wisconsin, so I'm one of those guys. The colder the better. I don't really like the heat, and so got there and then fell in with a group of guys, and one of them was like, "Hey, I head up the ski school. Do you want to teach skiing?" And I'm like, "Really? You can do that? That's awesome." Yes, I would. And so I did that for 4 years. Best job I've ever had. So I did that, and then I needed to go to graduate school and applied to several, and the University of Central Oklahoma let me in, which is great. And so when I went there, I wanted to work on campus. And one of the reasons I wanted to do that is so I didn't have to fight for time off on breaks and things like that. I could go home, see the family, whatever. And interviewed several places and on campus. And I think I really wanted to work for institutional research, but they didn't hire me. I guess my Excel skills weren't up to par at that point in time. And so I was running low on funds and needed a job in parking. I applied for the parking ticket person, and they called me in and interviewed me and offered me the job. And I said, well, I need the money, so why not? I never really wanted to write parking tickets. Who did? But I did that as the best job I really could have had during graduate school. It was easy. It didn't take a ton of effort in terms of, different things day to day or whatever. You came in, you did the same thing, and could really focus on school. And then from there, people above me kept quitting. I like to say they kept quitting, and they kept promoting me. And one day the manager resigned, and that required a bachelor's degree. And I was the only one in the department with the bachelor's degree besides the director. And I guess he didn't want to do a full search or something like that. So he called me and said, "So what do you think?" Well, I've got student loans due, so yeah, why not? And here we are, 5-6 years later, and I guess this is where I'm at. So it was pure accident, but best accident that ever could have happened. So it's been a fun ride.
Wow, a love story for the ages. Curious, how would you rate your skills now? Is that something that people need to be looking into if they're going to break into this market?
Yeah, your Excel skills need to be really good. I'll spend a lot of time with spreadsheets, whether it be in budgets or in transportation timetables, things like that. So it's definitely gotten a lot better, or I hired people that were a lot better at it than I was, and hire good people and get out of their way. So unfortunately, I've been really lucky in that department, but I would say that they're adequate. Don't ask me to do a pivot table yet, but at least I can at least do sums and things like that.
Nice. So what would you say makes you feel most inspired in your role?
So most inspired definitely would be, it's twofold, right? So I view parking and transportation unit, here at VCU or really any university, we're a support arm of the university, right? We're not out here to, make a profit for profit's sake or support ourselves or anything. We're here to support the students and faculty, staff, and visitors of the university, right? So we need to look at what do they need and how do we accomplish what their needs are, I think our perfect day is when you don't think about us. You come in, you park, you go about your day, you leave, and have really, frankly, no interaction with us, honestly. Or if you do, it's a hi, or, here's how you get to this building, or whatever the case may be. It doesn't always happen, but that's the goal. And so in terms of inspiration, it would be when my team gets a great idea to benefit a group of folks or a particular sector of the university, or maybe them as a whole. Is how do we make their lives easier, right? So coming up, particularly in the pandemic, we've had to reinvent the parking permit offerings and coming up with ideas that works, particularly now as we're coming back into this hybrid world where an annual permit, isn't something the subscriber wants to pay for. So how do we fit their needs while also meeting our needs and things like that? Certainly interaction with students is awesome, provided it's constructive. Getting to go talk to the student senates or student groups or new freshman orientation and really kind of explain to them how we go about supporting them in their journey here at VCU. Getting students that come in and say, wow, this is great, or I came in with a problem and you really solved it, and things like that. So that's really where I get my most inspiration from, or where I get excited is when we're able to impact that change and be kind of that support arm of the university that I really think we should strive to be.
That's awesome. I want to say we met probably 6-7 years ago at Central
It's been
Oklahoma.
a minute. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. I cover the Midwest for WW now, and I think my first year coming in might have been your first or second year in the director position there at UCO, or moving into that area. With you coming up kind of through that university, what advice would you give someone that's coming up through the parking management industry?
Right. Yeah, it was a interesting rise down at UCO and phenomenal experience. I think the biggest advice I would give is soak up knowledge from industry leaders, right? So like I previously said, there's no degree in parking. There's no university you can go to that's going to teach you how to operate in this world. And so really the school you get to go to is the school of learning from the folks that have done it before, going to conferences, attending webinars, researching vendor products and things that would better your university or your environment. So that's really probably the advice I would give is you gotta reach out and find it, whether it's, like I said, conferences, webinars, going for CAPP. You could do CPP through the National Parking Association, different things that can build your tool set, but you also have to look at what is the place you're at, what does it need to thrive? I was fortunate at UCO that I came into and then took over a department that had a lot of low-hanging fruit, really easy things we could knock out to better the environment, to better the offerings. And that would really allowed me to gain confidence and make connections across the university in order to do some of the bigger things I did later on in my tenure and ultimately the big thing I tried to do and it didn't work. But really that's kind of where I would go to. If you just sit in your office or sit in your environment and don't reach out, you're not going to learn what you need to do to advance in this profession. So
Josh, that makes a lot of sense. Covering the Midwest and you at Central Oklahoma, and when you took the leave to VCU, your staff there was just wonderful. Jennifer, who was assistant director, took over as director when you left. It was honestly like they didn't miss a beat. Everything just flowed very smoothly. It just worked. What would you say would be a good tip for making the parking world a better place in association with your staff?
Fantastic question. So the big thing I think if you get to the director level, or if you're in that leadership role, it doesn't have to be director, assistant director, whatever, you have people under you, right? Is your goal is to grow them. And so you want to expose them to as much as possible. And it goes back to kind of what I was talking about before with webinars and conferences and things like that, is you want to make them feel, one, they're part of the organization, that they have a say in what's happening. But you also want to set them up for success if at some point you're going to be moving on, or you want to expand their role, or whatever that case may be. And so you really want to expose them to as much as possible, keep them in the loop with what's going on. What is that 5-year plan? What is the next big project we're working on? Take a problem to them and say, here's the problem I've got. I can't solve it. Let's see if you can come up with something. And really giving them the opportunity to take a task and fail at it, not feel bad, but also be successful at it, and really trying to help them push their boundaries and really see parking as a potential future for them. And some people do and some people don't. There's a lot of us in this industry that stumbled into it and 40 years later are like, holy crap, what happened? And then there's some of us that can't do it. And part of that, I think, really comes down to, and having done this now at 2 universities, is the team that you have, right? You're not going to be popular working in this industry with others. Nobody wants to pay for parking. I mean, I go to downtown Richmond and I try to find free parking, and I work in parking, It's just what it is. And so you want to have a strong team that you can deal with those public criticisms and those pushbacks that you're going to get on the plans you want to initiate. You're going to always have a section that doesn't believe in what you're selling, or it may not benefit them as much as it benefits another group. And so having a strong team that understands your goal, understands your vision, and really takes part in it goes a long way towards being able to achieve your goals, or leaving the team in a better place, or just having a place where people are happy to come to work each day.
That's awesome. I love that there's such creativity involved in parking. I kind of never suspected, but I love, the problem solving involved in that type of thing. Since Philip's kind of the expert in parking, so I'm more of the wild card question. I'm a connoisseur of parking tickets. So if you had unlimited budget, how would you start spending it, and where would you spend it? Why?
Unlimited budget. That'd be fantastic.
Wild card.
I really think for me, it maintenance of our facilities, and that encompasses not just the maintaining the structures itself or the lots, but safety and technology and things like that, right? Like we're a support arm. What do our customers need? They need facilities that are well maintained. They need technology to help them find a space or pay for parking. They need wayfinding and things like that. And so if I had an unlimited budget, LED lights in all of my facilities, parking occupancy systems, EV charging stations in several places. I think it would be cool. You look at facilities that are being built around the country over the last decade, is they have these awesome designs on the outside that really make them blend into the landscape. And as I look out my office windows here, I see a 1,000 space 5-level parking garage that expands a whole block that is clearly just a cement box of parking. It would be cool if there was a design on that or something that helped it blend into the cityscape a little bit more, especially with VCU being so ingrained into the city of Richmond. I mean, you barely know you're on campus in some parts of it. So that's really where I started, because I want to invest in my people. I got a fantastic team around me, so the ability to reward them for their hard work, particularly in the last year, and the challenges that they've faced and things like that. So that would be awesome if I had a limited budget. I think it'd be kind of cool to get one of those like Carvana vending machines, but for parking. That would be kind of sweet. People would probably line up to park their car in there. So, something pie in the sky would be pretty cool too.
That is cool. So I guess one question that's probably on everyone's mind, and something I like to ask because I'm a connoisseur of parking tickets, where does this revenue go?
Well, it somewhat depends on who gave you the parking ticket and what does their budget look like. How much do they depend on that revenue to meet their annual expenses? And so my previous institution at UCO, we depended on that revenue. It was an integral part of our annual budget. Now, with that said, there was no quotas, but so if we knew our 3-year average was maybe $300,000 a year in citation revenue, we'd plan on 150 of it, and that's how we'd set our budget. And then here at VCU, a lot of our facilities are controlled with parks equipment, so you can't get into them unless you have a subscription to that facility. So for us, citation revenue is very minimal. I mean, it is maybe 1% of our budget. It's not planned for, it's not put into the budget as a guarantee. It's just kind of there. In terms of where it goes, generally speaking, it's not earmarked for one specific thing. It just goes into your bottom line, and then whatever your yearly plans are. In Oklahoma, I should say that's how we do it here. Again, it's a very, very small piece of our puzzle. In Oklahoma, it was usually earmarked for maintenance projects. So at least then if you got a ticket, it went back into the facilities in which you received the ticket in. And so it really, really depends. Entirely depends on the institution, the size, what it needs, and how much of that revenue they actually need to operate.
Yeah, that makes sense. One question really fast. So if you got like a spike in these, citations or what have you, is that like a cue for your team to look at maybe communications or anything like that?
It is, absolutely. So anytime we see a spike in citations at a particular location, that to me doesn't indicate an issue on the parker side. It indicates an issue on our side. Is it a pay to park location? So that way we have an issue with our signage or our system and how you pay. If it's a permit lot, is our signage correct there? If you're parking over the line, well, let's look at our lines even painted down correctly or fading out or whatever. So that's absolutely an indication of that. A good example of that, we have a parking lot. I don't even know if you call it a parking lot. It's a street and there's parking on two sides of it, but one side of it, part of it is a reserved location that is paid for, and that every space there has a sign in front of the space, and the others do not, because of how it's a lot of parallel parking and things like that, and we don't have the ability to put a sign in front of every space. And there's a fairly big sign when you enter on the right side of the street that says, this is Q lot, you need a Q lot permit from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I think it says any permit after 5 p.m., right? Well, the number of people that get a ticket because they didn't see that sign is just through the roof. And then due to staffing shortages right now, I'm actually our appeals officer as well. So I'm seeing appeal after appeal come in, and I'm like, we got to solve this. We got to figure it out. And we have not found a viable solution yet to that problem, but that indicates a problem on our end, not on the subscriber end. So it's a good question. And absolutely, we look for those spikes every week to see if there's something we need to look at.
Unfortunately, I haven't had the pleasure to see the campus, see VCU there in Richmond, but I want to talk about something that you hit on just a second ago, and that was the campus being ingrained in kind of the city, with the businesses, corporations, residential areas around campus. Is this an issue for you guys? And who actually handles the group of residentials and maybe corporations around campus?
It's an excellent question. So VCU is a very urban campus. We do not have a defined campus at all, actually. Very, very mixed in, which was very new to me. I came from a university that was a defined campus, and some days I missed that a lot. And we have two campuses actually located about 1.5 miles apart, an academic campus and then a medical center campus. And so two very different entities and how they operate and what they need from a parking and transportation standpoint. So the city of Richmond has a lot of neighborhood associations. And so VCU actually has a neighborhood, I forget the name of it. There's actually a town hall coming up with them, but like a neighborhood department that deals directly with the neighborhoods and the city relations with residents and things like that. And so they handle a lot of that, with us certainly coming in and handling backup to parking issues or things like that. So a lot of these neighborhoods, we've been encouraging them to put in residential parking programs. There are a few of them that still complain about students parking in their neighborhoods. And we said, well, of course I can't force them onto campus. But if you're offering free parking in your neighborhood, this is going to happen. The way you get around this is a residential parking program. And I was like, you don't even have to charge anything for it. Just hand out stickers to the people or something like that. But so they kind of, that neighborhood department takes the lead on that, and we follow up with it. We also work really closely with the city. So I have a good relationship with the City of Richmond parking director, a lady by the name of Lynn Lancaster. And so her and I get together on occasion and get together with local businesses and talk about their needs and what they see happening. And, if there's anything we could partner with them on. It's really kind of, both of those have kind of taken a break in the last 1.5 years or so with COVID and everything ongoing. But we do have a good relationship with those folks, and we try to accommodate them as much as possible, because just as much as, we need them and want them to support VCU, they need us to help them out, make sure our students aren't doing crazy things they shouldn't, and that neighborhood group watches out for, there's a lot of rental properties and things like that. So dealing with students who are renters for the first time in their life, and how do they handle those neighborhood relationships and things like that. So it's a big deal to VCU, and something we're very conscious of, particularly as we look to expand or build new buildings or whatever the case may be. That relationship is vitally important.
It's good that you have those relationships, with the city of Richmond and able to work through those solutions. I can imagine, again, I haven't been there, but I can imagine just the university maybe being a little limited on parking in some areas. So kind of talking, collaborating as a group with everyone involved has to be such a huge plus, with some limitations of parking and having students wanting to park real close, but the staff want to park closer. I got to ask, Who do you get more complaints from, student or staff?
You know, I'm going to say doctors. Actually, the great thing about VCU that it took me a long time to wrap my head around it when I first got here because it was so different is we sell parking at the facility level. And so what we do is we'll take a parking deck and we allocate spaces based on number of students that need to be in that area or faculty, staff, or visitors. And then we sell up to that point. And so when a faculty staff member starts here at VCU, we look at their work location. And then if they say they want parking, we say, well, here's the closest we can get you to it, which in some cases is a remote parking lot and you have to ride a shuttle in, and in some cases might be right next door. It just entirely depends. On a student level, we have two different processes actually. And so one is a lottery on the medical center campus and then first come, first serve on our academic campus. And so we're fortunate that everybody kind of has a shot at the majority of the facilities. And so they really can't come back at us and complain about that. But I would say in terms of complaints, it's probably doctors, particularly the medical center's campus is under constant construction. And we're actually just in the next couple of weeks wrapping up a multi-year renovation project on our largest deck that has caused a lot of angst and upset feelings and things like that as we had to force people off the deck to even do the project. And so after years of kind of bad news, we're finally able to give them good news. Hey, you can move back and things like that. But so I would say more complaints in the medical center staff and doctor side than anywhere. We don't really, funnily enough, we don't hear much from students, which is a change for me.
That's lucky. So it sounds like you have a lot of really large projects that you're dealing with or coming up in the next couple of years. So what would you say you are researching the most right now, or does something kind of have your eye?
So right now it's still kind of trying to gear up to move on from COVID, moving busing back to 100% capacity, and do they need to have masks, and what sort of new parking permit options do we need to have for faculty staff who maybe only come in once a week or twice a week or 3 times a month, but they don't know what day of the week it's going to be on or time of the month or whatever. And so that's really what we're focused on right now. And then also getting back to what we were doing before, which is trying to increase our safety in our facilities, installing more security cameras, upgrading to LED lights and things like that. And those are going to cost millions of dollars to do. And so really spending a lot of time researching what's the best option, what's the most bang for your buck, in addition to developing that multi-year plan to implement those things. We just in January launched Pay by Cell with Passport. So that's been fantastic. How do we take that and expand that to other parts of the campus, and what can we add from them that could benefit subscribers and things like that. So that's really kind of where we're at right now. And we've got a new parking deck coming online next year, and so researching what sort of technology we're going to put in that deck and things like that. We've also got EV charging stations. We're doing a rebate program right now where we're about to install 7 new EV charging stations, which is going to be fantastic. Can't wait to get that done. So going through that process.
Cool. So are autonomous vehicles on your radar at all yet?
I think that depends on who you ask. I don't believe they're going to be as big of a deal as some others do. They're going to be a thing, but I'm going to have a hard time just getting in my car and saying, okay, drive me to work, and trusting it. I'd rather just do it myself. But yeah, I don't foresee them being a big deal for another 20, 25 years, maybe, before they're really going to cause an issue within the industry. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think if anything, the crazy things I've heard about them, and I forget who had talked about this, they thought that they're going to have their car bring them to work and then turn it into an Uber or Lyft during the day to make money, and then pick them up after work. And, so the thought process with them was, well, you needed more pickup and drop off locations, and you don't need as much parking, but you need, if they're electric, you need more charging stations to charge them and things like that. So I really think there's a long way to go before they're going to impact the industry on such a level that we have to change our business model. But certainly something that you want to keep an eye on, all the articles coming out, things like that, to be ready to flip that switch when the time comes.
Yeah, I've been reading some crazy stuff about that. I like that idea though. Go to work and then have your car make money for you while you're at work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna hold on to that one. So how would you say that you continue to learn and stay on top of what's going on in the industry?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in ongoing education in that, certainly for my staff as well. And so we attend a lot of conferences throughout the year, a lot of webinars. We buy books that come out from industry experts to read. We're part of listservs, the one that Penn State oversees, and then the one CPTA does as well. It's just fantastic. And really, again, it's the thing about the parking industry is you're never creating something. Most likely somebody's already created it. You're just stealing their idea. And so you can reach out to learn what they did and how you can adapt that to your campus. And the cool thing is a lot of us in the parking industry, we know each other. We've been in it for a while through going to these conferences and things like that. So we can reach back out and say, hey, this sounded awesome that you did. Walk me through how you did it. And then you can take that and adapt it to what your campus is. So like expectant mother parking. Actually, I stole that, brought it to UCO, and then brought it to VCU. And, passport here at VCU. I did it at VCO, so I did it here. Daily scratch off forms. I bought those from you guys. We'd had those, I think, in Oklahoma that I stole from somebody else. There was a park and paste program that we installed at UCO where we wanted to encourage you to park in the outer parking lots and walk. And so we worked with the wellness center there to figure out length of distance from that location to different locations on campers, the number of calories you'd burn, the health benefits. We stole that from the University of Rochester. So really, it's a tight knit world where you can really make some connections and really go far.
That's awesome.
Let's talk about some of the conferences a little bit. I know that IPMI is one of the big national conferences. I've attended it. It's one of my favorites. I think this year it's in Tampa. Looking forward to attending that one, and it's in person. So hopefully we'll see you there. You'll be there. Awesome.
I will be there.
I'm planning on being there as well. So
I know who to find.
Well, let's talk about some of the things that you get out of these conferences, these communities, because like you mentioned, it is a little bit of a tight knit group and everyone does seem to know each other. But at the same time, you're always welcoming of new people coming in and wanting to learn. And you talked about the listservs, and that's really awesome that you have that to your disposal to just collaborate on at any time that you need help. Let's talk about what you get out of the conferences, maybe. And then if there's something that could be added to them, do you have any ideas?
Yeah, so really the conferences, I think it's twofold, right? So the big thing is going and listening, right? You want to hear what others have done, but you also look at the agenda in advance to see what classes or what sessions are being offered, and then relate it back to what you need to do at your university, and then go to those sessions to learn and pick brains. Really getting those ideas and formulating those, how you can implement them at conferences is fantastic, and doing your research beforehand so you know who to talk to and reaching out and setting up those meetings, things like that, whether it's with a vendor or a colleague at a different school or whatever the case may be. In terms of things that we could add, the big things, I think they're already the shop talks that IPMI does and things where there's not necessarily a specific topic, but like the university shop talk they do is just awesome. I love it. I get ideas. Sometimes I have something to say, a lot of times I don't, but really getting to just hear from colleagues about what they're doing and what they're struggling with has been enormously beneficial. I think vendor presentations are fantastic, but I don't always want to get that here's what my product is, blah, 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 blah. I want to know, give me some case studies. Case studies are fantastic. So I think more case studies is something that could be added, which I know they work on. Of course, that depends on people to step up and want to present. Of course, I'm a very hands-on and visual learner. So hearing a case study to me is being able to relate it back to how I could implement it here, whether it could be beneficial. So I think things like that are good. I think vendor time is important. So keeping that up and the vendors bringing, what's the word I'm looking for, bringing demos of their products is fantastic. How you guys you used to bring your big board with all your designs on there, which was cool because we always got to pick from them and figure out what we wanted to do. I get stealing it, is awesome. So yeah, I really think conferences are beneficial, and the more people you can bring to them, the better. Particularly one like IPMI that is so large. If you're one person, it's going to be hard to take it all in, particularly if you don't have a game plan. So I think, for me in November, I'm bringing 3 people with me, and we'll get to divide and conquer and come away with a wealth of information.
No, that's awesome. I also want to talk about one of the big certifications in the industry, CAPP. I know that IPMI does quite a bit of promoting, and you may get some credit hours at that conference as well for the certification. And I know that it's a well-respected certification, and you have your CAPP certification. So I just, want to ask real quick, what would you say to others maybe on the fence about getting this certification? What would you say to them?
Say go for it. Challenge yourself. Particularly if your place of employment either wants you to have it or is willing to allow you to pursue that professional development opportunity. It's one of the key tools to use how you gain knowledge in the industry. And it also depends on where you want to go. If you have aspirations of becoming a director or becoming a leader at a large school or city, they're going to require the CAPP credential. They're going to require something that demonstrates you know your stuff. And so it's actually one of the reasons that I was able to secure my current position. Is I was pursuing CAPP at the time, and that was a preferred credential of the position. And so being able to, in my interview, say I'm pursuing this, here's my test date, here's all I've done, was a huge benefit. And actually, I just sent in my recertification documents this morning to renew for another 3 years. And so I'd really, really encourage people to go after it, or go after some credential. It's again all about building your portfolio of knowledge, or resume, if you will, to benefit yourself. But you're not just benefiting yourself; you're benefiting the institution for which you work in, and that's something you can also use to your supervisor, whatever the case may be, to demonstrate, I know what I'm doing. I need you to trust me in this change or this program I want to initiate. And it's really a confidence booster. And so it's awesome that IPMI offers this. And really, as sometimes it's hard to gain your CAPP points to renew, but it's a really good thing to know you're maintaining your knowledge and building upon it. And so I think that's one of the reasons why it's so well respected, is that you're constantly having to evolve to keep it.
Brilliantly said, Josh. I'm a big fan of continued growth. I try and consume as much information and certificates as possible. So I love that you think the same way. We are going to be good stewards of your time. So I know we've gone a long time. This is great information. I had a couple of questions, but one of these was kind of about challenges you faced during the pandemic, which I think is a good segue or transition into, I know you might be hiring right now, which is a challenge everyone's been facing in the pandemic. So you want to kind of plug those positions, give us some insights into who you're looking for?
Yeah, for sure. So we have, see if I even get all the positions we're hiring for. So we have an account supervisor position open, which is it'll supervise one of our 2 customer service offices. So like I said, we have an academic campus and a medical campus, and on each campus we have a parking office. And so we have a vacant supervisor position that would lead that office and lead 2 to 3 staff members. And so we're really looking for somebody, you don't necessarily have to know the parking industry, but somebody who's adept to learning technology, who can operate on their feet, who can be a good leader, who can grow the people underneath them and represent them well. Somebody certainly with, I say, bubbly personality, but outgoing and open, has that kind of customer-centric focus. So we have that position. We're also hiring a operations center employee. This individual is a behind-the-scenes person who controls our parks equipment, monitors our security cameras that we have, and really keeps the operation going from enforcement and operations side of communicating about any tows needed, boots needed, motorist assist programs, things like that, communicating with folks who pull up to a gate and they can't maybe open it, or something happens, they hit that I button, which calls the operations center. So there we're looking for somebody who is computer savvy, who can learn programs, as well as be customer focused when they do have to interact with customers. And they're really also they're a support arm of us, really, and supporting those on the front and out in the field. So we have that position, and then I've also got a senior operations supervisor position that's about to post. And so this position's a senior level operations leader, per the title, of course. And so they lead day-to-day operations, the enforcement, and then the operations center team. And so we have 2 of those as well, one on the academic campus, one in the medical center. The two positions are eventually would be interchangeable. So the person we hire would then be cross-trained on the campus that is at their main home. So those two positions can swap in and out and that. So this position is they're a true leader. They're going to lead a team of 3 to 4 people directly, and they'll have 20 people indirectly, and really more of that when you consider the other operations. Soup would have that same number underneath them. And so this position is half in the field, half in an office. They do the weekly scheduling, they set goals, they control what the operations team does, from do we need to raise gates in this location, do we need to set up for an event. They handle hiring for the operations team. Really, it's a fantastic step for somebody who is looking to gain more experience in supervising, but also it's an entry level to a management job. The next level after that is being a manager. And so it's a fantastic cross between day-to-day operations and long-range planning, and that position's involved in that. So looking for somebody willing, who isn't afraid to sit in an office, but also isn't afraid to get their hands dirty.
Wow.
And then I think those are the ones we're hiring for right now. So if anybody's looking, they're on the VCU jobs website.
Sweet. And I'll drop some of those into maybe like the YouTube and some social links too when this goes live. Those sound like really interesting and cool opportunities. So tell me, are you a little bit like a traditionalist when it comes to applicants? Or like, for example, me working in marketing, I've sent people like a box of spam after I've interviewed and been like, sorry to spam you, but
that's funny right there.
How did that get your attention?
Did that work? Did that work?
No, it did work.
Oh, I like spam. So to get in the door, I'm more of a traditional. Require a cover letter and a resume. And if you can't write a cover letter, that sort of tells me something about you. But once you're in the door, absolutely send me an email, a call, a box of chocolates, 30 pack of beer, if I can say that, whatever. I can be bought. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I as long as you got that cover letter down, you're good to go.
Yeah, cover letter is important. They can be such a pain to write sometimes, but it's a good way to really, show off more about your personality or what have you. So good advice. This whole thing has been amazing. I think we got a lot of great information. Do you have questions for us, or do you have anything else you want to kind of bring up?
Philip, I love Christine, but I'm still waiting for you to take over Virginia.
We'll see. I do love the Midwest. I do love the local territory. Being able to, hop in the car and just go sometimes is so nice. Not have to worry about jumping on a plane. But if they need me over there, I'll definitely be over
cross train. Tell them you want to cross train. They want to learn a new territory.
For sure.
Stow away in her suitcase, and there's plenty of locations we can go to around here. So
for sure. I'm definitely thankful for our friendship. Definitely thankful for you as a colleague and someone that I can always ask questions and bounce stuff off of. So I definitely appreciate our relationship. And again, thanks for the time today. We're super excited about this podcast, and individuals like yourself make it great. We get to ask the fun questions, but really you guys are the thought leaders, the industry experts, and it's just about another way to share your experiences and information with your core group. We appreciate you, appreciate your partnership, and thanks so much for joining us today.